Let's close our eyes. And you can notice the birds chirping. Isn't that lovely? Last week, before doing the body scan, we took some moments to just be aware of the senses, of the 5 senses, whatever sense impressions grab our attention. So it could be the birds, could be the people that are taking the family photos in the beautiful park. And notice how your mind is aware of the sounds, and also separately from that, there's your reaction to that. With an inquisitive, curious mind, very curious attention, distinguish the senses, the sounds, like the sign of you notice that there is some high-pitched chirping, and then there's the perception, birds. And all that kind of cascades automatically. Normally, we're not aware how our mind continues from a sense impression to thoughts. And here we have the opportunity to observe your own mind, how it responds, and how it could create unnecessary stress, and how you can allow yourself to have peace. So for instance, there's the sounds, and then there's the perception. Perhaps there's birds, or it's beautiful, and maybe there may be thoughts about that. Zoom in on this whole process to be aware, to distinguish and separate just the sense impressions, like just the sound, without the storyline. We're zooming into our mind. The zooming in happens with a sense of interest, curiosity, and also quietness in the mind. Just be interested. And don't be so quick to say, oh, I know that, it's just birds, or it's just people talking. Really be interested. How do you recognize it's speech? In reality, it's just sound, right? They're just sound waves going through your ear canals, and then there's the whole biology of it, which I forgot, the semicircular canals and the cilia, and there's electrical impulses going through, which end up traveling through the brain, getting processed. But notice the crude raw data as much just the sounds without any narrative. And notice that the more we go to the present, to what's happening, just the sounds, the less of a burden it is. It's more peaceful. It's more of a relief. I want to maintain also the clarity and alertness. It's a deliberate choice to stop yourself from going into the mind wandering and the habitual storytelling that just reinforces the ego. You may notice perhaps the habitual stories you tell yourself. It could be fear, it could be anxiety for the future, or it could be just talking internally, which supports the sense of I am. But it comes at a cost, and the cost is inner peace and freedom. So we need to deliberately choose. No, at this time, I choose to give my mind some peace and some freedom, some spaciousness. And start also noticing the texture, the condition, the feel of the mind when there's more relief, like less burdens, more at ease. And this doesn't happen through force, through will. Will is that force that creates agitation. It just comes from relaxing into it. And it doesn't happen right away. It's an ease. It's slowly inclining, like a chicken sitting on an egg. And it slowly develops and then eventually hatches. It's the same way that we guide our mind, like an axe handle. You use it. There's no point which, okay, now it's worn out. That agitation, tension, and activity of mind, it just slowly fades away the more we're aware of our mind and decide, no, I'm not going to go there with the thinking, with the internal storytelling. You choose silence and peace. Even though there's no perfect silence and peace outside, it's the internal silence and peace. And notice any internal commentary there may be. This is life. When it's the contract of getting born, living in society, in a public space, there's going to be people. My dad just told me a boxer, when he goes into the boxing rink, eventually he'll get punched. It's just, that's what happens. So notice how the mind is reacting to perhaps unexpected sounds, like the family in the photo. And the suffering just comes from fighting against it, fighting against the reality of life. I mention sounds because often this tends to be a habit. When people want silence and there isn't, then we create our own suffering. There's a sound, but then we add on to it, perhaps I don't want this sound. And that's where the tension, that internal tightness comes. In retreats, it's very common, in group retreats. Someone makes noise and people complain. So it's a good learning opportunity. Noticing perhaps the temperature on your skin. That's another sense. The raw sensations, perhaps if there's coolness or comfort. By noticing also the condition, the texture, the feel of your mind, then you could notice you have an internal refuge. There could be sounds outside, but if you're noticing and hanging out with that internal feel, internal state of relief, peace, it gives you an anchor, like this internal home you can abide in. You can rest in that. Because we're noticing and hanging out with more qualities of mind rather than the five senses, we can explore more the heart-based practices that we brought up a bit in previous weeks. So we notice that we can be aware of our five senses, right? Tastes, sounds, tactile sensations like the touch of your socks against your toes. Taste, there's not much happening now. Sight, we've closed our eyes. We'll go more to the qualities of the mind, but perhaps we'll do the body scan first to finish, because it's still the five senses. So notice the sensations in your toes. Be curious, interested. There's sensations that are happening now. It could be the touch of your socks against your toes. Perhaps now the ball of your foot against your shoes. Going up the arch. Going up the ankles. Noticing the sensations of the heel and the ankles. They feel very different. It could be your heel in contact with your sock, your shoe, the pressure. And then around the ankle joint. Going up the calves. And going up the knees. Being aware of the thighs. The hips. You could feel perhaps the pressure of your bum against the seat or the cushion or the chair. being aware of the tummy, and see all these sensations are so different. Sensations in the body are completely different than sounds. Feeling of the tummy. And it's all just part of nature. Whether you've eaten or you haven't, or what you've eaten, they'll all affect how your tummy feels. And going up the spine, the lungs. All this is not under your control. It's just part of nature. The body doing body stuff. The heart continues to beat. The lungs do the lung stuff. And going up your shoulders. And you may notice the airplane or not. All these senses, they grab your attention, and just leave it at that. Just leave it at the sense impression. Don't allow the mind to proliferate, to create, construct any thoughts or stories about it. Just leave it at that. Just leave it at the sound. Leave it at the body sensation. Because you have more freedom there, more ease. You're not picking up burdens with that storytelling. So being aware of your shoulders and going through your arms, your elbows, your wrists, and the hands. The hands have so many different sensations. Being aware of the thumbs, and just go through each finger. Notice the sensations in the hands. Notice the quality of mind when there's stillness inside the mind from non-reacting. It's tastes of freedom. There's a profundity to it. Like an internal refuge you can tap into. Stay present, mindful. Don't allow the mind to pick up the stories. Try this different way of stopping, being diligent in that. Don't just go the usual way your mind moves, wanders. Be alert, present, and still. Give it a chance, because the quality of the mind changes. So we'll go through the face, being aware of the throat, the jaw. allowing the jaw to relax. Sometimes a lot of tension around this area. Being aware of the jaw, the cheeks. Being aware around the eyes. Sometimes there's tension in the forehead between the eyes. Just allow all that to relax. All the muscles around the eyes to relax. You start recognizing the relief, the spaciousness, that quality of the mind. It's like a profound stillness. All these words are just describing, pointing at an experience that may arise by activities settling in your mind. You allow the self-making to settle, allow all that activity to settle, this internal silence of mind, and then feel how that feels like. It has a taste of freedom, this peace. But all these are just words pointing at. Just feel it and abide in it. It's like that taste of an apple. People can say it's sweet, it's tart, or whatever. But it's only once you bite into it that you know. The same with all these words. They're just pointing at. But the reality of the quality of your mind when you allow yourself to stop. That's starting that inward journey. And it's like a mountain. It accesses this independence of whatever goes around you. So we're not so trapped or dependent on things that happen. We have this internal refuge. Like gain and loss. Things are going to happen in the world. But the more we identify, want, cling on to whatever happens or whatever we experience, the more there's that internal tightness or suffering. And you notice it from yourself when you're observing your mind. Like there were sounds, and we just leave it as sounds. The problems arise when it's, I don't want sounds. Or I like sounds. And then when the sounds go away, we suffer, or when the sounds, we're too dependent. So here, we're leaving reality, the senses be. We're not getting involved in them. We're not clinging on to them. We're not wanting them to continue or wanting them to stop. We're recognizing that it's part of nature. It's part of nature. Ultimately, anything that comes up, we have that attitude that leads to deeper and deeper levels of peace. But a support for this practice is helped by cultivating some heart-based practices. So this somehow, it just works. It helps the mind be more stable and still. I'm very curious as to why or how this process works, but it does work. So if we cultivate, you can experiment and explore it within. this attitude of friendliness. Just arise this attitude of friendliness, like a opening your heart, softening your heart to this moment. Like if you have maybe a baby child or a pet, a pot plant you like, or a pet, that arouses a sense of softness, and somehow feel and be interested in this condition of mind. So it's not a five sense pleasure, it's not a sight, it's not a sound. It's something different. Notice that condition, that whatever it is, that state of mind. Notice that friendliness, that warmth, that kindness. It also comes around if you drop any barriers and you feel safe, you feel accepted, protected. You give yourself that care, that acceptance. I think it's like a hack for our nervous system, or the way our mind is, because the ego can't really exist. The ego gets vamped up when there's a problem or something to do. There's more sense of I, which gives us more agitation and suffering. So when there's no problem, you're safe, you're accepted, that sense of ego starts to dwindle and vanish, fade, and allow it to fade. Replace it with this softness, this love, and you're just spreading it in all directions like a sunshine, like in the front, and having this friendly wishing of safety, of friendliness, of wishing well, a genuine wishing for people to be free from suffering, to be well. And notice that that state of mind, it feels different than a sound. It's this inner quality. And you hang out with that for a bit. And notice if there's any thoughts, and don't feed them, because you're depriving yourself of the opportunity to have that inner peace. And then spreading to the back, this friendliness, this wishing. Just may all beings be happy and well. All the birds and yourself, maybe to the left and to the right. All around, including yourself, imbuing your whole body, soaking in this total acceptance, this friendliness and well-wishing. Like a baby, feeling safe in the mother's arm, totally protected, at ease. And there's this rejoicing in the joy of others. Let's say the birds are singing, there's families reunited. And there's like a little rejoice in that. And notice the quality, how does that feel? That it's a different type of inner joy. But notice the texture of that, the quality of that. It's not a sound, it's not an emotion, perhaps, whatever it is. No need to label it, but just notice that conscious experience of it. And it leads to also a stability of mind. And you notice that nobody can give this to you. We just have to allow ourselves to experience acceptance, love, joy. ultimately it comes from within. It gives us much more stability in life, not chasing things under the delusion that somebody or something makes us. No one can put a USB cable in us and transfer or install program of happiness or well-being. We are aware of our mind, learn about the nature of our mind through experience, cultivation, and notice we can give ourselves permission to accept ourselves, to feel at ease, peaceful. Even happy for others, this joy, not jealousy, but we can rejoice. And that's a choice. Allow yourselves to rejoice, perhaps, in the family reunited. Who knows? Maybe they haven't what the story is, but they're happy, and we can rejoice in that. And that's a choice. Notice how that feels inside and abide and hang out in that. And notice any resistance comes from thoughts. And that's stopping ourselves from exploring different dimensions of the mind. This practice tends to be easier for females. I don't know why. But notice to allow yourself to explore. Give it a try. There's another one, compassion. Let's say there's this joyful wish for others to be free from suffering, and it needs to also add stability of mind. And all this works because the mind, this whole body system, it feels more safe, that it's safe. And this equanimity, that no matter what happens, we know that this is just life doing its thing. Whether we want things to happen a certain way or we don't want things to happen, it'll still happen. So there's that equanimity. And we tap into that condition of mind. So notice and choose. Choose for the mind to be still and not react. And notice how that feels like. You can notice the stability inside the mind. The mind will find that inner refuge automatically. It's just through practice, consistency. There's no one special. It's not through an act of will. Just eventually, through giving the mind the opportunity, it doesn't latch on to the five sense stuff. It just rests inside, and it's so beautiful. Much better. So if we're playing with the perceptions, exploring, you can notice the space, the spaciousness in your mind. There's far less stuff in your mind than there is when, let's say, you're in a pack and save or in a shopping mall. You're less burdened with sights, sounds, smells, tastes, stuff to think about, things to fix, things to manage. There's this more spaciousness. And notice not just the spaciousness, but the feel of that. Like that feels so much more freeing, less of a burden, so much more ease when there's less stuff in the mind. Allow the mind to enjoy the intrinsic beauty that it's better to abide in that spaciousness. Then you could play around and explore not the spaciousness, but the awareness that's watching the spaciousness. So this is very subtle, but just rest in knowing. Very subtle, and it's easy to get sidetracked. Maybe we'll skim through these quickly to go awareness of the breathing. We will go to the breathing. You may notice that you're breathing. Did you notice that you're breathing? And what's that sign? How do you know that you're breathing in? What tells you that you're breathing in? Not with words, but just notice. Like you notice the distinctive feature of a bird singing that makes you know it's a bird. What's that distinctive feature of breathing that makes you know you're breathing? And don't say it with words, and it's different for everyone. So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's for you to tap in to your own mind so that you're more stable like a mountain through life. This internal stability and well-being. So notice that you're breathing. You're always breathing. Now you're just aware of it. So know you're breathing out and know you're breathing in. And the perception of breathing changes also all by itself. The more silent you are in your mind, the less responses the sense of self, like the less selfing happens, the less internal commentary or internal talking. And this is just through practice. The quality of the mind changes. If you want, you can say a word. Everybody's mind is different in terms of how much agitation or like what's stopping you, if there's negativity or whatever, craving. But you can use, if your mind is very busy, you can use a word along with the breathing. So still your awareness is mindfulness along with the breathing, but you can say a word such as breathing in peace, breathing out relax. So that's just an anchor. You're still aware of the breathing, or a number such as breathing in 1, breathing out 1, and then all the way to 10, and then back to 1. Or if the mind is very still, all those words are just more weariness, more burden. So just drop that. We're dropping and dropping, allowing more and more to fade away. And you can just be aware of the breathing. And the perception of breathing changes all by itself. It becomes more subtle and delightful. Just because somehow the mind is becoming more still through non-doing. Coming close to the end of the sit, notice how your mind feels now compared to when you first sat down. Just the internal feel, the condition of your mind. And really appreciate any sense of ease, isn't it? Even if it's not the most freedom you've experienced, it's better than still going blindly in life in reaction mode, just allowing our mind and body to react whatever we come across. This is really pausing, stopping, and being with our mind, getting to know the habit patterns, and then deliberately not going there. Deliberately say no. It's like a detox for the mind. Otherwise we're like reactive mode. And I always have this gratitude. And this is a good, wholesome gratitude because it helps that stability, having that inspiration and gratitude even. I get a lot of joy and inspiration from having the opportunity to have practiced, because otherwise, what's the alternative? We're like a rat on the, or that hamster on the hamster wheel. Here we're allowing ourselves to get off the wheel, and the wheel is always the next thing. Wanting this, not wanting that reactive mode. Like the donkey chasing the carrot in front of it, never getting it. Or if it gets it, then the next one, until we die. So I don't know if that works for you, that reflection. Just notice if you feel gratitude, then it's wholesome. It helps that stability of mind. Notice the condition of your mind compared to when you first sat down. And appreciating any sense of spaciousness, ease, like just well-being. And